Um, of course, we're going to continue to talk about the fight that went down a few hours ago and basically, um, you know, what Errol's been said. So, I'll break it down, but, you know, let's see, can we take a quick listen?
The legendary Errol Spence. Errol, congratulations on your performance here today. Tell us how you saw this fight. What happened out here today?
It was a good fight. Congratulations to Tim, Jeff Pennick. Shout out to everybody who came out, man. It's been a great event. Everybody treated me well. No Limit Promotion treated my family and myself real good too. I appreciate everybody for coming out. It was a good showing by Tim. I asked a lot of questions for myself. Now it's time to go home with my family and start a new life.
So, is this the end of the road for what has been a glorious professional career?
I think, yeah, for sure, man. I got my faculties intact. You know what I'm saying? My money is good and working for itself. So, everything's good, man. I got a beautiful family. And I thank God that I'm gracious enough to lead this sport with my faculties intact and my family still by my side. And, everything's gonna go well down there.
Well, Errol, congratulations on a magnificent career. It has been an honour to have you here in Sydney, Australia this week.
I appreciate everybody for coming out. I appreciate everybody for showing me major love. I appreciate Tim and his team. They've been very great. No Limit been very great too. And I thank you all. It's been a great journey for myself. But it's time to be on with my family and live that family life.
Let's hear it for these two fighters, ladies and gentlemen. Errol Spence and Australia's Tim Tszyu.
All right. So, there you have it. This may have been the last we see of Errol Spence. Errol Spence, to me, has done and completed enough in his career to be a Hall of Fame fighter. He is a three belt champion. For the most part, he fought the majority of his career at 147, and then basically he had one fight at 160. He came up short. I'm gonna continue to talk about Errol Spence. If you want to hear what I had to say in regards to Errol Spence, and what I think happened to Errol Spence, you know, um, I did a stream with 7A Sports, but I'm going to do another stream tomorrow, in particularly talking about how I feel like Errol Spence was set up. Now people go say, "Oh, we don't want to hear." Fuck what you don't want to hear. No, did he lose the fight? Yeah, absolutely, he lost the fight. But I'm just saying the fact that Errol Spence had to go to Australia, there was no drug testing. He fought somebody the caliber of Tim Tszyu after basically a 3-year layoff. Like I said before, that was just crazy. And he's supposed to have advisors, and all that stuff. Any smart man, any manager, I'm talking about any person with common sense would have said, no, you can't take a fight like this and you've been out of the ring this long. Tim Tszyu probably saw that as a slap in the face to basically feel like somebody is making him to be a tune up in a comeback fight. And then, like I said, everything was in Tim Tszyu's favor. You know, Tim Tszyu got to fight pretty much in his country. And, I don't know if he's from Sydney, but he got to fight in his home country. And, like I said before, um, he was treated like he was, pretty much the A side. So a lot of questions remained unanswered. And like I said, I didn't like what I saw with Errol Spence. Like I said, I didn't like his performance. You could clearly tell he was a guy that had been out of the ring for years, and it just so many things went wrong. Um, a lot of people made videos, and I'm not gonna say who they are. There were people that Um, um, I'm not gonna call them foolishly, but I think people irresponsibly made videos saying that Errol Spence was going to knock out Tim Zoo after being on a 3 year hiatus. Like, man, come on, man. Like I said, I didn't like this fight. I talked about it. I had my reservations about this fight. What I thought happened. That Errol Spence was going to lose this fight. The only good thing that came out of this fight that Errol Spence didn't get knocked out. He managed to go all 12 rounds, but there were times where things looked shaky. Me myself, for the most part, I had the fight in all likelihood 8-4 for Zoo. Maybe there was a possible swing round, but now that I think about it, I think Tim Zoo easily won that fight 8 rounds to 4. Spence, the first half of the fight was dead even. The first 6 rounds, they could have went either way, but um, Tim Zoo just pulled away after the 6th round. You know, he just pulled away. Errol Spence looked slow. He was swinging way out of range. Uh, footwork was off. Stance was very wide. I, as I said before, I didn't see any improvement under. I didn't, and I'm not tearing down or attacking Ronnie Shields, but I'm just telling the truth. I didn't see any improvement in Errol Spence. Didn't. So now that Errol Spence is retired, what's your assessment of Errol Spence? I think Errol Spence is a Hall of Famer. I don't even think that's up for debate. I think Errol Spence is a Hall of Famer. I'm not going to take anything away from him. But like I said before, you got to excuse me. I'm really irritated and just pissed off about this fight, seeing what I saw and feeling like Errol Spence was set up to fail. Like I said before, I know people gonna say, "Well, Errol Spence one of them type of dudes. He don't want no tune up and all this kind of stuff." Well, that's what you got advisors for. And I thought Al Heyman was his advisor. And if I'm Al Heyman, I would have said, "Come on, Spence, you not no, no. We're gonna find you a lighter touch or two. When you've been out of the ring for 3 years, you need a lighter touch or two, and then see where you at." But basically, they just threw him right into the fire. I think you got to look at it from Tim Zoo's point of view. It's a slap in the face to say that a dude that hadn't fought in 3 years, yes, he was a former pound for pound fighter, but he was just gonna come out the gate and just lay the smack down on you. And somebody that should be taking notes and looking at this is Tank. Because if Tank isn't set to come back until 2027, they better find a light touch for Tank. Hold on, hold on. So, yeah, I'm back. Everything just felt off. Everything felt off from the ring entrance to, you know, the final press conference, just all that. It felt off. I didn't like what I was seeing. I just was just thinking a lot of things. Now, this looks great for Tim Zoo because Tim Zoo is elevating this and saying, hey, this is one of the greatest victories. I'll be the legend. You know, Tim Zoo is doing what he's supposed to do. Make it look like this was one of his greatest victories. Now, like I said, had Spence won, they would have been saying Tim Zoo wasn't shit. And this, that, and third. Because we know how this works. And to be honest with you, Tim Zoo had a lot to lose. He couldn't lose to a dude who hadn't fought in 3 years. He would have never been respected. He would have been laughed at. So he did what he had to do. And the fact that they giving Errol Spence high praise and they giving Tim Zoo high praise says a lot. Something that we lack. So I'm really gonna analyze this thing even further. And stay tuned tomorrow because I'm definitely gonna speak on how I feel like Tim Zoo was basically the setup man and how he was, basically anointed to be the guy to ruin Errol Spence for a variety of different reasons. This your boy Town. I'm out.